All right, what's up, Joe 508? So let's get the game going here. All right, get the show on the road, and that means we're going to start our official coursework for this summer semester 2023. All right, so this is the drill. I'll be emailing you these YouTube lectures that serve as overviews of the curriculum that exists within each of the assignments. Okay. I just sent you a quick video of how to navigate the course and how to get an A basically in GERO 508. You can see this right here in the announcement section. I also put it into the how-to folders right here. So if you have any concerns about how to function in this class, watch the video. And then there's different how-to functions in here. It gives you step-by-step instructions how to navigate the course right in here, how to get in, look at the material, okay, take the quizzes, shows you right here. Remember, when you're taking the quiz, hit save answer each step of the way, and then it shows you how to do posting in the discussion board if you've never done this before. And I'll give you an example of what it's like right now as well. Okay, so yes, go to the how-to folders. All right, now you really need to watch that previous lecture, that is how to navigate the course. But just remember that you can work ahead all you would like. Okay, I want you to certainly put these dates into your calendars. Okay, and we have quick papers that I'm going to discuss further as we get going along in the course. But you can put the July 10th in your calendar, and then we have this marketing pamphlet where you're going to market your concept of the mind-body connection into your professional life. Okay. Some workplace marketing where you were trying to recruit clients to maybe live in your facility, go to your getaway, whatever it is you're going to be doing. Okay, awesome. We have two exams right here, as you can see right here. Okay, there's July 17th midterm and the August 4th final. If you click right here, you'll see that in your mode, they're not open right now. This is just a description right here of what the exam's all about. When I do open the exam, they will pop up, and you have 24 hours to get the exam done, as indicated in here. And once you start the exam, you have 2 hours. And again, they're all multiple choice, so every step of the way. You just always hit save answer, save answer, save answer. And I'll get to that later. All right, so that's a quick overview. So what we're going to basically do is go into the curriculum right now, okay? And those are your weekly assignments. So let's just go right ahead. We'll click on this. So everything's provided to you. You don't need a book. We have PDF files. We have engaging videos. And then we have this video right here that serves as the overview, okay? Again, this kind of describes everything that's going on, so you can read through that. It's a reiteration that is in the syllabus, which you can take a look at as well. I advise you to, okay? All righty. So I'm going to put this lecture in here, okay? I'm going to create a second lecture and stick it in here, and then you'll be good to go for this week, okay? You'll see that officially the class starts tomorrow, Monday, June 26th, and then everything will be due from this week on July 3rd, meaning you're going to have a quiz and you're going to have a discussion that will be due on July 3rd. Next Sunday, there'll be 2 more lectures that we're going to put out, okay? It'll be the same drill. You get very used to it. You just kind of get into the mode, okay, guys? So I'm going to click right here, as that's what you would do right here, okay? I've already posted just a reminder how to get an A, because I just want to make sure we have that in place, okay? And then what I'm going to do is underneath here, it says here is assignment 1 lecture, Introduction to Stress. I'll be putting that there. Okay, just to let you know. So this video is going to be going underneath that text right in there. Okay, so the big thing that we want you to do, so this is not going to be a super long lecture, is that we want you to put in the time, and we want you to watch this documentary. It was made in 2008. It is still completely pertinent right now. It's an amazing study by probably the #1 most preeminent researcher in the field of stress, Robert Sopolsky. He's an incredible lecturer as well. So It documents the research approach to looking at stress, whether it's from simple mammals to primates. He had an amazing run of research where he looked at baboons and he looked at social structure, okay, and the stress, kind of like it equates to our work-life stress and our stress of trying to make it in the world, okay? That particular world was the hierarchy of social status in the baboons, and the amazing parallels that have been made, that are then made, looking at epidemiology. Okay, so epidemiology is where we're looking at public health. Okay, and in specific, we're looking at disease states within the public health arena, and we're able to figure out how stress creates a super high risk for so many human disease conditions, okay? So we're gonna start churning the wheels for this mind to body connection. Our focus right now is gonna be on stress and controlling stress, and then we'll see later on during the last back of the summer semester, we're gonna get really deep into techniques that we can all use in our daily lives to minimize our stress, okay? And we're going to be looking at the biological consequences of stress as well, which is important because our perceived stress, okay, because we have lots of anxiety, because we're ruminating over how past events happened and how future events might unfold, we get the stress system going from the neck down as well, okay? And that then has a consequence of leading to many, many disease conditions. It causes immune suppression that leaves you wide open for infection, but then it also causes, because of this chronic infection scenario, can cause a hyperinflammatory state that is not good either, okay? We see that it causes diabetes, okay? Yes, there is stress-related diabetes, and that diabetes then lends itself to vascular disease, all right? So you can have diabetic nephropathy, okay, because of the vascular problems that happens, the atherosclerosis that diabetes leads to into your kidneys. You can have diabetic heart disease because of the atherosclerosis to your coronary arteries, okay? You can have diabetes that leads to blindness, diabetic retinopathy, same deal. It's the blood vessels going to the eyes, all because of the underlying diabetic condition that we're going to learn all about in this class. And then what's now commonly referred to as type 3 diabetes, and that would be Alzheimer's disease, where the epidemiology has shown, okay, where you now are a sleuth, you're a detective, it's shown that 80% of Alzheimer's patients are either pre-diabetic or diabetic, okay? And it just comes down to a compromise of the blood vessels going to the brain. All right, so this is why this stuff's important, going back to stress, okay? So this thing is 56 minutes long. It's well worth it, okay? When you watch it, you know, you can click on it right here. My advice is just to go big screen and go like this and click the YouTube, and it's gonna take you right in to the actual movie on YouTube, all right? All right, so it's kind of loading, and I apologize the other day, my computer, I really needed to do the other day was I needed to shut my computer off because I had too much stuff in my couch. There it is. So now we go like this, big screen, and I'm gonna spend the 56 minutes to watch this, and you'll see that it's really, really well done. So it's a must. You have to watch this, okay? Awesome. From there then, we'll go down here and we'll listen to, again, Robert Sopolsky. This is just a 3-minute long video. Again, it's in YouTube. You can do the same thing I just did, where he starts talking about how we basically, you know, co-opt this physiological system that we use to adapt to true stressors, okay, physiological stressors, whether it's we're out in the desert and it's too hot, we're being chased by a predator, you've just had a serious injury. These are all major physiological stressors that the stress response kicks into gear for. But he talks about how we, in the modern world, tap into this psychologically in an inappropriate way. So definitely watch that video, okay? Awesome. Now from there, then what I'm gonna have you guys do, and I'm gonna go right through this with you guys, is I'm going to then, this is a great 3-page article that he kind of, he's really, really articulate. He translates the unique science that's going on into what's going on in terms of this, our modern world epidemic of chronic stress, okay? All right, so what I encourage you to do then, you're starting to get to this point in time, you would then click right here on your quiz, okay? So you see it's opened up a second window right there, all right? So now I'm in this window right here. I would hit begin, okay? That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I would open this up, okay, and then I would answer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. That's all you. Every assignment has just 5 multiple choice questions, and then we draw from these very same questions when we make up the midterm and the final. All right, so it's pretty easy peasy, guys. So we're looking at social hierarchy. Okay, you're going to learn from your readings and from watching the 56-minute long documentary. What the answer is to this, okay? So being in low in the social hierarchy, so we're in we could hear in our world, we're in the low socioeconomic status, and even within that group, you're just not clicking on all cylinders. You're not the guy that's super cool, okay? Is it gonna improve your blood vessels, reduce atherosclerosis? Is it gonna improve your brain function and your learning and memory? Does it increase inflammation? Is it all the above, okay? All right, so I'm going to answer this question right now. I would say it was here, okay, like so. Boom, okay. I'm going to get my face out of the way. What I'm going to do is I make sure I save that answer, okay? It is saved, okay? Then I'm going to go to the next question, which I'm not going to do. When I'm done, I hit save and submit, okay? And so that's exactly what you guys would do every single assignment, all right? Awesome, very cool. All right, now I'm going to get out of here, all right? It's not going to like it, but I'm going to do it anyways, okay? Awesome. I'm going to go back to week 1 here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to download this file. Now, what we like to do, we always have a PDF file for every reading, and then we also include the URL for the reading, which is the location of the article in the website for that particular journal. There's oftentimes paywalls there, and that's why we've gone ahead and downloaded the PDF file, all right? So this way you can go back and forth and you can use it however you want in terms of as a resource. So we're gonna go right in here, okay? All right, I'm gonna open this article up, okay? So here it is, okay? We can see right here, it's 3 pages long, so it's not that big of a deal. Now, you can either scroll downward with your up and down arrow in your computer, or what I like to do, and you never know with the PDF file, but you see I've hit the arrow here, and now this scroll bar has appeared over here on the right-hand side, okay? So we're gonna look at stress in the brain, okay? We're gonna look at, in this article, he's gonna talk about how, what we always do in science is we're always gonna give you the general trend, but there's so much significance in looking at the individual variability in terms of outcomes. And so that's a real important component, because we can, for example, line up 1,000 people and expose them to the exact same stress, and yet some people are not going to respond super actively and not going to have an over-the-top bad stress response, whereas other people are going to overshoot the mark and get themselves into trouble. And so when we embrace that variation, then we can go in there and look at every individual and ask the question why, and what's unique about their physiology, their genetics, that is either making them vulnerable or making them having a protective nature in terms of how they're dealing with that stress. Okay. All right. So you read through all this, and what I'm going to do here is, again, he's a great writer and speaker, and what I want to do here is, I'm not going to read that overview, but we'll get down here and look at some of the most important things that he's talking about. Okay. So he talks a little bit about the history, okay, of the stress response, okay. And actually, you know what, before I even get into this article, and he starts talking about this stuff, I think it's important that I go back here, and I apologize for this, okay? But I remember that I have right here this this slide deck right here. So what you need to do is open the slide deck, okay? All right, so now I'm gonna open the slide deck and I'm gonna give you an overview of the stress response, all right? And there, okay, so that was my bad, but that's okay. We'll just, this is me. And by the way, you know, I have profound ADHD, and sometimes it is something that can really help you out, okay? Sometimes not, okay? So it just kind of depends on how I'm rolling. All right, we'll see if I can, what I'm gonna do, actually, sometimes I have found when I'm doing videotaping that if I go presentation mode, it'll freeze, which is a disaster. So what we're going to do is we're going to put my face over here, and we're going to do the discussion from the slide deck. So I want to give you some background, okay? And that's what this slide deck's all about, background about the stress response, okay? So this has all the fame in is what's called the fight or flight response. But we are, he's going to talk about it in that 1 3-minute video. We're in constant balance, trying to maintain the best operating system of our bodies, okay? Sometimes we need to kick into gear the stress response, and sometimes we need to shut it off and go into a downshift mode, okay? So we have two responses, colloquially called the fight or flight response, and then we call this the rest and digest, okay, all right, response. And it is this automatic function within our nervous system, and it's called the autonomic nervous system, but I like to call it the automatic nervous system because it's unconscious. We are always regulating our blood pressure. We're always regulating our production of saliva. We're regulating our heart rhythm. We're regulating our breathing rates, all these things that we do that we don't even, we're not conscious of. It's an automatic function, all right? So right here, okay, when we are threatened, okay, you need to take in as much sensory information as you can. I want to, woof, okay, take in the world because I just heard something like I'm in a dark alley and I heard a boom behind me, okay? So immediately my pupils will go like this and they'll dilate to take in as much information as I can, okay? When I'm resting, taking a nap, what happens is my pupils begin to constrict and less light comes into my brain and I start to calm down, okay? Alrighty, when you're stressed out, everybody's done this before. Every time you have to go up and do a talk, public speaking, okay? Next thing you know, you had this inhibition of saliva flow, okay? You get cotton mouth when you're doing public speaking, okay? When you're eating, okay, you're in this rest and digest mode, the saliva begins to flow, okay? When you're doing that public speaking, which is a psychological phenomenon, or I'm being chased by a raccoon in my backyard, all of a sudden I have an acceleration of my heartbeat, okay? I got to start pumping the blood to my brain and to all my muscles. I have an opening up of the bronchi, which are the big tubes that go, and the bronchioles that go into my lungs, so that now I'm going to get as much air into my lungs so that I can absorb as much oxygen as I can. The heart's pumping, the blood's flowing to the lungs, and I'm going to be delivering that oxygen to everybody that needs it, okay? I don't need to be digesting food at this moment in time, so we inhibit, okay, the secretions in our gut, and we inhibit the net movement, the peristalsis, because that takes energy that would be diverted away from what I need when I'm fighting somebody for my very life, okay? We see the opposite over here, okay? Rest and digest, okay? So now I'm secreting all the enzymes in here. My stomach is churning, moving, my intestines are moving, and I'm processing my food, all right? Same here, I'm gonna process food by secreting bile from my liver. This helps me absorb fat, okay? All righty, so what else do we have going on here? Let's just go down here. Now, we need fuel, okay? We already talked about oxygen up here. Right here, what we need is we need fuel, okay? And so we need to go to our warehouse of fuel, and that is the liver, and that's what they're showing right here, okay? So what happens when you release adrenaline is we have an initial store of glucose, okay? That's called glycogen, so it's just sitting there like a bank in our liver, and when you release adrenaline, then basically you start shooting out the dollar bills out of the ATM, okay? So you start just pumping the glucose out of the liver, okay? It goes into the blood, it goes to my muscles, and I use that the glucose, combine it with oxygen to make ATP that is used to contract my muscles, okay? So this is how it works, okay? We need more fuel because this is a stressful situation, okay? We're going to, when we look at this, okay, this is brain to nerve to another part of the nervous system. Remember that I said the automatic nervous system that connects directly to each organ, okay? So this is like lightning fast. It's the speed of electricity because this is direct wiring. That's an important thing to think about, okay? In addition, we have a backup right here, okay? This is in the very core of our adrenal gland, okay? It's called the medulla, and this is kind of a scientific term. Anytime you look at the core of something, it's the medulla, and then the outer shell is called the cortex, okay? We have that in our kidneys and our brain, so this is what we call it. So the core is the medulla, and we have this direct wiring that goes into here. But then what happens is you're going to release the adrenaline stored in the adrenal gland into the blood, and that is an immediate backup. It's a fast backup. Everywhere the blood goes, the adrenaline increases heart rate, changes the contraction of blood vessels, all so that you can fight or flight, okay? All right, so that's what that's all about here. So we'll look over here, and I'm going to go actually down to the third one right here, okay? And this is exactly what I was talking about, okay? So remember, we're looking over here, go back to the first one, all right? I was looking right here at my adrenal gland, okay? Again, direct wiring to my adrenal gland, okay? And we come back over here, and here it is right here. Yeah, this is the bottom part of my brain, okay? Sends the wiring right out, okay? It goes into my spinal cord, connects to a second wire, okay? Super fast, goes out to the adrenal gland. It's a synaptic release because it causes a release of a transmitter that then causes the adrenal medulla, the core, to release adrenaline into the blood. And these are, it just all depends where you're from. We have, in the United States, we call it epinephrine and norepinephrine. In Great Britain, they call it adrenaline and noradrenaline. Same exact thing, all right? All right, so that's what that's all about. Then we have a second part, all right? So this is this wave that's happening when you're having a stress response. So this is the fast part right here. We have a slow hormonal response, okay? And that's mediated by this whole different process, okay? So we see right here, we're gonna perceive the stress, okay? It could be physical, like I said, okay? You just had an injury, okay? We have this perception of stress, okay, as well. You could be physical, could be in a really stressful environment, okay? Like I said, you're in the desert, it's 115 degrees. So you got to kick into gear a response to that unconsciously, okay? Or you could have the perceived stress, like, oh my God, I'm paying all this tuition, I'm never gonna get a job, what am I gonna do, okay? And the same thing happens, okay? You tap into gear, the fast, hardwired part, and then you have the backup, okay? The first backup was on the left-hand side right here, all right? That's the adrenaline. And then the third backup is the hormonal response that ultimately comes down to the release of a hormone called cortisol from the outer shell of your adrenal gland, okay? And that's your adrenal cortex, okay? How does it all work, okay? So I perceive a stress up here, okay? Incoming sensory information, or I just happen to think about something that gives me lots of anxiety, and I start to ruminate, and next thing you know, my heart starts to beat, my mouth gets dry, and I'm having an anxiety attack, okay? Alrighty, so what then happens is ultimately we're going to connect the brain to the body, okay? Just like we did with the hardwiring before, but this is all hormonally based, all right? So the brain is going to connect with the pituitary. It's a gland that dangles from the brain, okay? The hypothalamus is the middleman, all right? The hypothalamus basically releases hormones and controls everything from the neck down. So the hypothalamus is super important for that. We'll see later on that the other parts of the brain are always conferring with or directing the hypothalamus, okay? My decision maker up here, my anger center over here is going to direct the hypothalamus, okay? Once the hypothalamus sees its go time, it releases this corticotropin releasing factor, I show you right here, that goes down to the pituitary, and then the pituitary releases its own hormone called ACTH, or adrenocorticotropin hormone, all right? Then this travels through the bloodstream down to the adrenal cortex, okay? And then that causes the adrenal cortex to release cortisol. Why do we want cortisol? Cortisol redirects all of your body's functions to fight or flight, okay? And so it helps shut down things you don't need. You don't need an immune system right now, so shut it down, okay? You don't need to have gastrointestinal function, so let's shut it down. But the most important thing that cortisol does is it runs to the liver and says, we need more fuel, okay? So we already had adrenaline going to the liver saying we want more fuel. And so guess what? Cortisol does the same thing. And so you're just getting tons of glucose put out into your bloodstream. It can be from glycogen, but it also is a message to tell the liver, let's just degrade our functional proteins and turn them into glucose. I know that's not a good idea, all right? Because I need proteins to be who I am, but it doesn't matter. I'm being chased by a shark right now. Let's just get some fuel and we'll figure out making those new proteins and replacing ourselves and rejuvenating when the stress is over, all right? So an important function then is, hey, is the stress over? So what's happening is cortisol is doing all these things that I talked about, okay? But the second job it has is it's always being perceived by the hypothalamus and the pituitary. So when your blood levels of cortisol are high, it's always trying to turn it off. So the message is, hey, all right, we have these high cortisol levels. This is not good all the time, chronically. So can we please shut this thing off? The quicker we shut it off, the quicker we can then rejuvenate our bodies, all right? But as long as you're thinking, you know what, I got a problem, it overrides the shutoff. And that herein lies the problem with modern society. Herein lies the problem in terms of us modulating stress. Okay? All right, so that's what that's all about. So we come over here. Here's the brain. Here's the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and we can see this right here. Here's the hypothalamus. Here's the pituitary. Hardwired one we talked about. And then this is the hormonal one, okay, that leads to adrenocorticotropin hormone that then activates the outer shell instead of the inner core to release cortisol to do all those jobs that we talked about. Okay, so here's the challenge, my friends, okay? So can we use this system the way we're supposed to, or are we just going to be hijacking it because we have such stressful lives, you know? That's the problem. And it's referred to in some corners of science as the amygdala hijack, okay? So what is the amygdala, okay? Little tiny nut-shaped brain area right here that receives all kinds of direct information from our senses, okay? Smell, taste, sight, sound, okay? So if I hear a gunshot, I'm going to immediately orient to that gunshot, but I'm also going to initiate that stress response right away, okay? So that's what it does. It takes off. So right here, external stimuli, okay? The problem is sometimes an external stimuli, like maybe I'll see a photograph that reminds me of an old girlfriend or boyfriend, okay? Or I see a photograph that reminds me, oh my God, I got to pay the bills. And it generates this internal stress response, okay? And the amygdala starts firing. The amygdala directly drives this system right here, directly, okay? So it's going to say, okay, fast hardwired response and the slow cortisol response. And that's when you have the amygdala active all the time, that's what's active right there, okay? Is it real, or is it just something that you're generating because you have anxiety? That's the issue, okay? All righty. We then have two other areas right here. So just because incoming stimuli are happening, you're going to compare this, okay? So you have your hippocampus, which is your memory center, and you have your prefrontal cortex, which is your decision maker, okay? And you'll think about something, you'll see something, and then those two guys are going to say, well, we've done this before, or we've seen something similar to this, and yes, we got to go crazy, or we've done this before and we've seen something similar to this, and you know what? Maybe we should take a break, breathe deep, slow our roll. It's not that big of a deal, okay? And so that's what the kind of triad is doing, okay? Of the amygdala, and I say A, okay? I have a little A here with my hands and my arms. A is for rage. A is for anger. A is for fear, okay? And that's when it gets activated, okay? And then the other guys are always kind of modulating. Sometimes the hippocampus, though, is the memory center says, okay, remember that when that happened, it really sucked. So I'm never going to forget that. And next time I see something like that, we're going to go into fight or flight mode immediately. So this is the dynamic. Or we saw it once before and it wasn't such a bad deal. Okay, all righty. So that's the essence of that. Okay, now what happens, okay, when we look at conditions of chronic stress, okay, and it could be from a true behavioral / physiological trauma, or it could be because now you're remembering it. Something is triggering that in you to remember it and relive it over and over again, like post-traumatic stress disorder, okay? So this is a psychological injury that then turns into a true physiological injury as well, okay? So what happens is, remember the feedback we talked about right here, okay? All right, so what happens is with chronic stress, and the amygdala is on all the time, okay? And you're not able to turn it off by these guys right here. What happens is it causes cells to begin to degenerate and die off. Isn't that crazy? All right. So the cortisol, if it's chronically elevated, causes your learning and memory center, the hippocampus, to shrink, and it causes your decision maker and your emotional center, the prefrontal cortex and frontal cortex, it begins to shrink. Remember, these are the two guys that are trying to shut the amygdala off. Okay, so then what happens is if they're shrinking, this guy is active all the time, it gets bigger. And you can see this becomes this downward spiral, all right? So this is a reiteration of this right here, okay? And we can see this concept right here. So here's our perception of stress causes the hypothalamus to be active, okay? Hypothalamus goes to the pituitary, releases the ACTH, releases the glucocorticoids that are having all those effects, causing diabetes maybe, okay, causing all kinds of functional changes that elevate blood sugar. Think about it. If you're just maximizing the fuel and pumping out the blood sugar, you're not using it. You're just sitting there like this, but you're ruminating, then high blood glucose then can result in inflammation and cause diabetes, okay? So that's the conundrum about psychological stress. It's not being used appropriately. Now, this guy at the cortisol is feeding back all the time. Can we shut off? Can we shut off? Can we shut off? Okay. All right. And this is what this is showing right here. This is in science, when you see a line with a bar, that is negative feedback. The arrows mean it's stimulating. This is trying to inhibit, trying to inhibit, trying to inhibit, as we see right here. Okay. All righty. What happens though is, and I did this in color right here, is if the hippocampus dies off, okay, like I showed right here, so the hippocampus is shrinking and dying off, the prefrontal cortex is shrinking and dying off, then this ability to turn things off begins to fade, okay? And so all you have is downward arrow, elevation of cortisol, and the amygdala gets bigger and bigger. So we showed that right here. The amygdala gets bigger and bigger. If it's raging, then you're going to be secreting every time you see a stressor, even until you experience a stressor, every time you have anxiety, ruminate, PTSD, you're going to be elevating more and more in cortisol. Envision this, guys, over your life course, over a 20, 30-year period of time. All right, so this is the overview right here. I'm not going to read through this, but this is a great overview, guys. So go ahead and check this out. It's exactly what I was talking about right now. All right, sorry. So let's get back to where we were, okay? And I'm going to move this guy out of the way here. All right, and I'm going to go into my PDF file, and we're going to go back to this, okay? And I'll move this guy right down here so we can see what's going on. Okay, so What I was talking about, what Robert Sapolsky talks about in the two videos, is that we have this stress response. It has a true protective survival function, okay? But psychologists were able to figure out that we activate this on a purely psychological state that does not need to be mobilizing all these resources. And it happens when we lose control, okay? When we lose predictability, when we lose our social support, okay? So these are the most worst kind of stress is the unpredictable stress that gets you out of nowhere, okay? You think everything is cool, and then lo and behold, along comes AI, and suddenly now your job's at jeopardy, okay? That's stressful, okay? Alrighty, so that psychological mechanism then taps into this physiological response, right? And there are huge consequences, huge consequences. One of the first things that was found, you'll see that in the documentary, okay, was that stress, prolonged stress, makes you sick, okay? It makes you ill. Why is that? Because what it does is suppresses your T cell function in your specific immune system, okay? It's the lymphoid part of the immune system. And the T cells are super important to fight off viruses and bacterial infections, okay? So now you're wide open because of stress, okay? In the meantime, okay, because you are sick more often, sick longer, the rest of the immune system is super active. So now you're also in this pro-inflammatory state. So this is a whole field that we're going to talk about called psychoneuroimmunology, and it's very, very real, guys, super real, okay? All righty. So when we look, further into this article, okay, like I said, it's I said you get into this hyperinflammatory state, which is a bit of a enigma because steroids are anti-inflammatory, okay, but this is in the acute sense. So we use this all the time. For example, if you're having an autoimmune disease, we can give you steroids, okay. That's going to reduce that segment of inflammation, but you're vulnerable to infection, okay? We do steroid injections when you've had an injury in a joint to reduce the swelling from inflammation, okay? Good for that moment in time, but down the line, chronic elevated stress can cause inflammation, okay? Alrighty, so the second part that I want to talk about here is that that the long term, 20, 30 years, it just depends, okay? 5 years, 2 years, whatever it is, when you've had this chronic stress, we talked about the immediate effect in terms of high blood glucose, cortisol, okay, shrinking of the brain parts, diabetes, risk for heart disease, all this kind of stuff, okay? But we also see that when we change the environment that our cells are exposed to, we're going to change which recipes are being turned on and off genetically, all right? So we have 20,000 to 25,000 genes. Every single cell has all those genes. Every single cell has the identical composition of chromosomes, the identical DNA. The only difference is which genes are turned on and off at any moment in time. Some cells are skin cells, muscle cells, okay? I wish my muscles were here. I want to show you that. I don't know if you can see it, but see, I tore my ligament. It's called the anterior, okay, long head ligament to my bicep the other day. So I'm in a world of hurt. So I'm a little bit psychologically stressed right now, okay? What? I need to get the DNA going in that muscle cell and the ligament to help the repair, okay? So this is all switching on and off. That's called epigenetics. But we also will talk about epigenetics, okay? That means it's not the actual recipe book, but it's which recipes are being read, okay? Which proteins are being made is the idea. And stress dramatically affects which genes are turned on and off in a bad way, okay? Alrighty, so we have the direct effects, the bad effects, okay, that are elevated blood glucose and stress-related diabetes, and then we have this genetic effect, okay? Alrighty, now, there's all kinds of different ways to interpret the stress, okay? Our brains specifically up here in the hippocampus, it's been studied. This is our learning and memory center that's weighing, hey, did this happen before? What should we do kind of thing. There are two types of receptors that bind to the cortisol, all right? It's got a, why we can't, I wish science would just make life easy on everybody, but they give it different unique names. This is called a mineralocorticoid receptor, or an MR. This is a glucocorticoid receptor. I wish they would just call it a cortisol receptor. What do you think, guys? But that's what they're called. They bind cortisol, and they're monitoring blood cortisol levels at all times, okay? When blood cortisol levels are low, this guy binds it immediately. So these guys right here, they don't start binding it until they get really high. And then it sits into the alarm system, okay? At low levels, okay, this is this concept in science called an inverted U, where a little bit of stress, okay, can be a good thing, all right? It upregulates your system in the right way, and it becomes adaptive, okay? But high levels of stress, overstimulation, causes the death and degeneration. So we need to have just the right amount, and that's what that's all about right there, my friends. Okay, so they go over this inverted U, and specifically in this article, they begin to talk about the variation that happens, the individual differences, and this is something that's super interesting. Why do some people seem to always operate at this level right here, the just right stimulation, and why do other people are operating at this level all the time? And as if you were a psychiatrist or a psychologist, this is like the $1 million question. What's different about people genetically, maybe? What's different about people so that that some people are operating the good side and some people are operating the bad side? Okay. All right, so that's what this is. It's really fun to read. You can go ahead and go through the rest of it, and like I said, it's only about 3 pages long. All right. Okay, so now that you're done with all that, okay, we're going to go back to the first assignment, and now you're super educated in this. You come down here, okay, and we're almost there, guys. Here's the prompt, okay. All right. I want you to be imaginative, proactive, okay. Remember, you give one prompt, and then you respond to your classmates 3 times, and then you get the full credit, okay? So use the articles, use the videos, okay, right here, and discuss the brain changes that happen, okay? Talk about the inverted U, chronic and high level of stress, okay? And what it does to these brain areas that affect how we respond to stress. The hippocampus and the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, okay? So this is your prompt right here, guys, to show that you have a full understanding of what's going on. All right, so the way it would work then, I would just go in here like so. All right, I'm gonna click this guy, okay? I'm gonna create a thread. Okay, we scroll back up here, and there's the prompt again, so I can read it over, okay? And then I put right here, I'll put John Walsh example, okay? And I would then say, stress is controlled by 3 brain areas, okay? The amygdala, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex. Okay, all right. I would say chronic stress increases the amygdala, all right? All right, amygdala, but shrinks the hippocampus, tappy, and the prefrontal cortex. And then I would just tell you why that matters. Why does that matter? Okay. All right, you can talk about epigenetics, you can talk about everything, then you hit submit. Okay, so I'm not going to do that right now because I'm just doing this example. Okay, I'll just say right here. To do is to follow the prompt like above and answer. All right, your response to the prompt and 3 comments on your classmates' responses. All right, and I'm just gonna go like this, just to remind you. Okay, is I'm just gonna go like this. All right. That's how it's gonna work. So I'll go ahead and post. Okay, and submit. There it is. All right, and look, we already have some people in here. All right, so what I would then do is I would see what Zhuyi Wang has done here. All right, so the videos, it talks about the kind of express and right there. Okay, all right. Right, and she gave her personal experience. That was part of the prompt. Yes, yes, yeah. And I would then make a comment. I would say, hi, and it's always good to say, introduce yourself, okay? Right, so I'm talking to Zhu Yi, okay? Hi, Zhu Yi. Being able to control your stress during exams or at the workplace reduces cortisol, which increases your brain area, which increases not your brain area, which increases the function of your brain areas. I would say hippocampus and cortex needed to perform at the optimal level. Love you. I'm going to say, great. You are in class. Your insight. All right, boom. There, I'm done. Okay, so now I'm going to hit submit. So now I've got one down. All right, and I need a couple more to go here. All right, hit submit, and there it is. Okay, so when we go over here, there's Zhu Yang, and then there's, Zhu Yi, and then there's my comment. All right, that's how you do it, my friends. Okay, so I'm going to go back to announcement page. We're done for today. And welcome to class, and feel free to contact me. My phone number is 949-292-5198. Julie's number is 949-292-5199 if you need any direct assistance, okay? All right, peace, and we'll see you next time.